So when you're betting or trading, you need an edge. Why do you need an edge? Because that's how you're going to be long-term profitable. And edges can come in many forms. It could be through a bit of data mining. You're looking at historical data and you see something in there that you can use to be profitable in the future. It could be about your knowledge on a specific sport. There may be some detailed knowledge that you have that gives you an edge over other market participants. Or maybe it's in your strategies and tactics that you use. But one thing that you shouldn't forget about, and one thing that is often overlooked, is being able to get an execution edge. Critically important on a betting exchange, and we're going to look at a very simple execution edge in this video. If you're interested in trading with BetAngel, then visit our website where you can download a free trial of BetAngel Professional and BetAngel Trader. If you want to learn how to use them, then visit the Academy where we give you a detailed, structured walkthrough of each product. And if you're an existing user, then head on over to the forum where we have a load of files for you to download to customize and use within BetAngel. So I want to show you a clever way that I use BetAngel. You tend not to see it within the videos because if I did this in the videos, you wouldn't have a clue what was going on. But this is a method and a process that I use to actively trade, and the reason that I do that is because I can trade faster and more effectively than other people using this particular style of trading. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be using servants, and if you don't know what servants are, they're things that allow you to semi-automate your trading. But we're also going to go into settings, and we're also going to use the keyboard shortcut editor. So if you go to settings, behavior, you'll see the keyboard shortcuts near the lower third of that particular dialog box. But to start what we're doing, we need to create a servant. And when we're actively trading, the trading process is you select a stake, you click over here, you click over there, and then you make incredible amounts of money. But what we're going to do is something a little bit cleverer than that, which is what I will show you in this particular video. So if I click on the servant, we need to create the first part of this particular process. And to do that, we need to create a rule. So if we click on the servant manager, click on rules, and then create a new rules file. What this will allow us to do is it will bring up a dialog box. Make sure that you pin it so that it doesn't get hidden, because if you move over the ladder, it's mouse context sensitive. So make sure you pin these boxes so that they don't suddenly disappear. But in the same way that we clicked on the ladder, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to create a servant that performs a particular function. So on this particular servant, I'm going to call this ladder backbet. And you're thinking, what is he doing here? So what we're going to be doing here, as the name suggests, is place a backbet. And the rule type will be place a backbet. And we're going to say that this servant is always armed, and you can see it's going to trigger once, and you can see down here applies to selection, servant context selection. There's just been a withdrawn runner at Kelso, in case you're wondering why one of the ladders disappeared. And basically what we're doing here is placing a backbet, and you're thinking, well, I can do that by just clicking over here. But when you use a servant, you can do a whole lot more things. So we need to apply parameters. So we're going to say to, when we use this servant, we're going to place the backbet at, and here are all of your options: fixed price, best market price, second best market price, blah, 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 blah. You can see there are lots of different options. So I'm going to choose reverse market price. And then you can also see that you can use a stake of a fixed amount, but you can also see you've got all of these options underneath here as well. And the one that we're going to select is the servant context. And you can see you can apply global settings here. In other words, you can do offsetting, stop losses and stuff like that. But you can also use all of the automation functions. So if you want to apply conditions to this, you want to say place a backbet subject to the following. You can do that as well, and you can do signals, or you can derive information from stored values to place your bet. Basically, you don't have to place just a backbet. You can say to it, place a backbet if this is the scenario. So this is a particularly useful way of placing a backbet because it becomes conditional. Basically, you can do all sorts of clever things. At the moment, we're just going to keep it really simple. We're going to say place a backbet,
and that's about it basically. We're not going to do anything special, but we are going to derive the stake from the servant context, which basically means whichever ladder or feature we're looking at on the screen. And the same is going to be applicable here. So basically, this servant will be applicable to wherever I'm pointing my mouse across the screen, is what we're doing here. Then if I apply that, this basically sets up this particular servant. And then I'll just save that to make sure that we've got that saved. And then we can sort of go from there. Now, what I want to do is create one for the lay bet as well. So I'm going to immediately create another one. I'm going to call this ladder lay bet. And as the name suggests, what I'm going to do is place a lay bet. And therefore I just need to modify a couple of little characteristics here and then apply that. And we actually therefore now have ladder back bet and ladder lay bet. So you can see those two options are available within the automation rules editor that we have here. There are a couple of others where I've been demoing or doing other things. You can ignore those, but those are the two that we've just set up here at the top of the screen. So now what we need to do is we need to actually put these to use. So curiously, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close the servant manager, because we could actually invoke these by doing a control left click and a control right click. You can see that we've got them down here, but I'm not going to do that on this occasion. What we're going to do is use the keyboard shortcut editor to invoke the servant. So to bring up the keyboard shortcut editor, we need to go to settings. You'll note there are settings for the ladder and there are general settings. We want the general settings. And if we click on that, we go to the behavior tab, and then you can see down here keyboard shortcuts. And we're going to create a new profile. So if I just bring this over, again, pin this to the top so you can make sure it stays where it's supposed to be. What we can actually do, you'll see it looks and feels very familiar to you if you've done any automation, if you've done anything in the servant. The keyboard shortcut editor looks the same basically. And first of all, we need to capture a key press. So we just click on this dialog box here. You can see it says capturing, and then if I press the Z, you can see we're basically saying the action that we're going to be looking for is the Z key. So you can see the key presses Z. What happens when we press Z on the keyboard? So here we can choose from a whole variety of things, but what I'm going to do down here is go to the automation servants, and the shortcut action is going to be start an automation servant using the mouse as context. And therefore you can see the parameters select the rules file for the automation servant. We have just created that. So if I press the Z key, what I want to do is to place a lay bet. We want to click over here. We want to replicate that. So we're going to do a ladder lay bet on this particular occasion. And you can see here that that's what it's created up here. Now what I want to do is a similar thing. We're going to use copy here. And I'm going to capture a key press. I'm going to capture the key press C. And here what we're going to do is we're going to get it to place a lay bet on, a back bet on the ladder. So we've got Z. When we press Z, it will place a lay bet according to how we set up that servant. C will allow us to place a back bet. And what I can do here is call this keyboard settings ladder shortcut, or ladder keystrokes, I think I'm going to call this. And then once we've applied that, you can see that pressing Z will invoke this servant, pressing C will invoke that servant. And if I just save that, close that down, and then you can see that appears within the active profile. So you can have as many profiles as you like: pre-off trading, end play, football, tennis, greyhounds, whatever you fancy. And you can name that underneath the keyboard shortcut, and you can have different keys depending upon exactly what you are attempting to do. So now that we've done that, let's have a look and see what happens when we start pressing some keys. So this market at Kelso is off late, which is quite helpful because it means I can demonstrate to you on the market exactly the thing that I've done. I have actually demonstrated this once to you already, but I forgot to hit the record button, which is a bit of an error. But let me do it all over again for you to demonstrate exactly what we've achieved by using the servant and the keyboard shortcuts. If I go to trade this runner here, the way I would trade it using a mouse and a traditional ladder interface would be to click here and then click here. But if you watch what happens now, I'm going to press the Z and C key. So can you see those bets appeared automatically? If I want to trade this runner over here, there you go. You can see that they appeared almost instantaneously. All I'm using the mouse for is to indicate the selection that I'm interested in trading. I'm not actually using it to open a position. Basically, I can just move it over here and say, right, I want to open a position on that side. And all I'm doing is just basically pressing a key on the keyboard. Now, of course, you can vastly increase the scope of what you want to do. So if you want it to qualify that it's the right moment to place a bet, or you want to cancel bets, or you want to make them conditional, it's very, very easy to do. But the concept behind what I've done here is to allow you to basically use the mouse to indicate what you're looking at. Then you can draw your attention and focus right to the center of the market and just press a keystroke to put a bet in or out of the market. And like I said, you can use it to cancel bets, to scratch them, to initiate new positions, to do pretty much anything that you like, or to make those back and lay bets conditional upon things that you think are important to the success of your trade. But basically, by using a servant and the keyboard shortcut, you'll be able to trade much faster and more effectively than other people.
So what we've shown you here is the first step in terms of getting your execution edge. The first component of that, when we actually placed the trade, was using the keyboard shortcut. Basically, rather than having to move the mouse around looking for the right thing to do and making a judgment on the trade and then clicking, all we did was press a key and initiated the trade. So that means that you will be able to put all your energy and effort into focusing on the potential opportunity, and you don't have to do anything to worry about the trade. You just press a button and away it goes. That in itself will give you an advantage over other traders that are unable to do that. But then what we did is we actually used the keyboard shortcut to invoke a servant. And the idea of a servant is it can semi-automate part of your trade. On this particular occasion, we did a quite simplistic back and a lay, but you can do any level of qualification of that trade by using the automation within the servant. So you could say to it, place this trade if the following is the case, and this is the case, and that's the case, and if it isn't, then don't place the trade or scratch the trade. You can get it to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But the key concept here is that you're semi-automating that process. So you focus on the opportunity, you press the key, and the servant qualifies and places that trade for you super quickly. And it will allow you to place trades much quicker, more effectively than other traders, and more accurately than other traders as well. And essentially that's what we mean and define by an execution edge. You'll be able to trade much more effectively than other people who don't have that ability. So we've shown you the entry level of that within this video. There are loads of examples on the forum if you want to download additional servants or indeed other bits of automation that will give you loads of clues as to how you can improve whatever strategy you're choosing to deploy within the market. Anyhow, I hope that video has been useful for you.